Hello and welcome back to my channel. This is part 23 of our Let's Get Cooking series, and in this episode we will be using our bulk items that we've been setting up over the last few episodes to be able to remove items from a bulk pack, i.e. a slice of bread from a loaf of bread, and using contents of a pack like pouring our coffee into our coffee machine. A little disclaimer before I start: I have done some of the prep work on this one already because I just did a video. It took over 2 hours. It was way too long and it was really a right mess. So in a way to shorten it, some of the stuff that we've covered already I'm not going to dwell on. I'm going to skip over them fairly quickly but explain to you what I have done. So without further ado, let's get started. The first one we're going to deal with is taking a slice of bread out of our bread bag or our loaf of bread. So first thing we need to do is we need to position our bread. So we need to open up our loaf of bread or bag of bread or whatever it is you've called it. Go to our viewport and you'll see you've got your pivot mesh. Okay. Now you see mine's set a bit off to the right. Now, how do you know where to set it to? Very quickly, I'm going to show you. We're going to add a static mesh to that pivot point. We're going to set that mesh to your slice of bread. In my case, it's just called bread. Called white bread. And you can see, if I move around a bit, speed up a little bit, it is inside my bag of bread. So you want to position it so that it is hidden inside the bag. For me, these are the settings. Now you change the settings on the pivot, not the static mesh, because static mesh we're going to delete in a moment. So you're going to change it on the pivot, and for me it works out as 10, 11, rotation of 90 in the X and 0 in the Y, so that makes it vertical. Scaling is left as is. So that's that bit done quickly. Pause the video to see. So basically all you want to do is make sure you're hiding it and it's in the right orientation inside of your bag of bread. Then we go ahead and delete that. It's only for reference for setting up. So we've done that. Just going to get my reference project up. So while I'm here, let me just make sure there is something else we need to do in the bread, but we haven't made that function yet. So a lot of the work here is going to be in our bulk items. So we open up our BPP bulk items. Now, if you don't have this give data asset in your interfaces, give bulk data asset here, you need to add that to your interface. Okay. And I'm not sure whether we had them already added or not. I've had to delete stuff and I'm not sure. So basically all that is a data asset, a function with no inputs but one output of a DA bulk items. I'll just call it data asset. Okay, so we've got that. That's important to have. Without that, that doesn't work. And then you just drag in your DA bulk items ref. If you don't have that, go to your begin play, get your data asset, get your cast to DA bulk items, promote it to a variable, and that's the variable you will use. Okay, so with that done, we're going to make, I'm just double checking, give data all done. We're going to make a couple of functions. Okay, now some of these variables you may or may not have. Like I say, I've just had to delete a lot of code, but I haven't bothered to delete a lot of these, trying to save some time. But I will explain them as you go along. If you don't have them, they're relatively, at this stage, you should be able to know how to make a variable. We've done plenty of it in the last episodes. So let's quickly make a new function. We're going to add a function and we're going to call it take ingredients. It has two inputs. One input is spawn location, and that is of type scene root, which is just basically, scene component, which is basically what we use for our pivot. If we look here, our pivot is a scene component. So what we're going to do is we're going to spawn a slice of bread inside your loaf and it will take it out. I know it's not 100% realistic, but it would be a lot more complex to actually open the bag and have you taken it out the end of the bag. It'd be swapping meshes and stuff like that. If you want me to go to that extent at some later date, let me know and I will be happy to help you. And the next input we want is one called spawn actor class, and that is of type BPP ingredient. And make sure you choose the class reference, the purple one. And there are no outputs. Now this next variable you may or may not have. And if you don't, I'll show you where to make it. Finding out on my. So in your event graph, from your bulk DA here, you drag off of here and you get pack contents quantity, and if you don't already have the variable, you promote it to the variable. But I've already got it here, so I'm going to add it there. So there we set that variable. And before I forget, we're going to make an event dispatcher, which I believe, yes, has an input. So we've got to invent it. I've already made it here. I've called it on item tilted. Okay, I've got to redo this. It has one input called activate and it's a type Boolean. Okay. So then what we need to do is we just need to say bind to, and you need to look for the one that we just made. Bind event to on item tilted, which is this one. We're going to drag off of here, go to event dispatchers, create a matching event, and then we're going to call it activate particles. Drag that down out the way for a minute. We're not going to use that in the bread, but we will use it in the coffee machine. So I just wanted to make sure we got that line filled out. So back to our taking ingredients. We get our pack content variable. We check if it's greater than or equal to 1, because obviously you can't take nothing. Branch. I'm going to go through this reasonably quickly, but not too quickly that I make silly mistakes, I hope. We're going to get our DA bulk items reference. Like I say, that's made from I showed you just now. We're going to, from here, we're going to say is bulk pack, which is inside of here. And we're doing a branch. So first of all, we're saying, is there enough in there, and is it a bulk pack? Can we actually take stuff out rather than trying to take it from nothing? Okay, then we get our spawn location. Which you'll get from your front of your function. And from the through here, we spawn actor class. And we're going to get our spawn actor class. Spawn actor. What do I call it? It didn't name it. Spawn actor class. Okay. Can't find it if we don't name it. Spawn actor class reference. So this one here. So we're going to connect the class to class. And you should see that we have a few of these already in. If you don't have them, like this bulk pack reference, go ahead and add them in your BPP ingredients. Okay. Now it's telling me my spawn translation is invalid because we haven't set it. So we're just going to get world transform. And we're going to add it to spawn transform. The bulk pack reference is important, so I don't believe you had that. So if you didn't have that, you need to go into your BPI ingredients and set it. We will be going in there later, so I'll show you. And make the variable, but make sure you set it as instant editable and expose on spawn. Okay, once you've got that, we're going to promote this to a variable, and I've already done that, like I say, and it's a variable of type BPP ingredients. It should be the right one, so just promote it to a variable. Just call it spawned actor. From here, we're going to get the base mesh, and we're going to disable the collision. So set collision enabled, and make sure it's no collision because we don't want it shooting your bag of bread all over the way. Okay, the next part. Now I did make them, and I'll go through them in just a second. So the next part, in fact, I'll do it now because if you don't see them, you're going to get confused. So in our event graph, I've made a timeline called TL move item, and it's over 1.5 seconds, 2 points, just like we've done many times before for putting the lids on and off of the cuts, etc. So you set it there, called it alpha. So there's our timeline, just very, very basic, as we've done many times before. Like I say, I'm trying to keep this a little bit slow, shorter. So we're going to get that timeline. We'll fill it out in just a second. And we're going to say play from start. Make sure you use the from start in case it's already started playing and got interrupted. You won't get the full effect. That's it for that function. Okay, nothing too dramatic for that. And we're going to make one more function while we're at it. And we're going to call this return to pack. So And I've already used it. Where is it? Oh, okay. I've already used it. I didn't delete it. Okay. So this one's very simple. I'll go through your through the content. Okay. So return to pack. No inputs. No outputs. We get our pack quantities. We increment it plus. We get our spawned actor. We make sure there's no collision, because when you later on in we'll be resetting the collision, so it will have collision again while it's in your hand, so you can drop it and move it and do stuff with it. So we set the collision to no collision, because as soon as it hits the bag, it would make the bag fly everywhere if we didn't. And then we call the same move timeline, and we reverse it from the end this time. So we got those. Okay. Compile those. Make sure to save it. Now we're going to go and do our move item. And where did I set that spawn tempo? Bear with me. Ah, okay. I did miss something out. Take an ingredient. Missing it out. So just before we go to the spawn, so make yourself a tiny bit of room. We're going to use this spawned transform, which you should have from inside here from previous episode. We're going to connect that up to there, like so, and we're going to connect it to that. Okay, because we need this transform later. Okay, and I believe that is correct now. So back to our event graph. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to get our spawned actor. We're going to set actor transform. We should have a little bit of room because we've got a little bit of math to do in between. On the update, we're going to do there. And we're going to alert the transform. Okay. The alpha goes to the alpha. Spawn transform I'm going to put back here because we're going to break it as well in a moment. So that's going to go to there. Then I'm also going to break the transform. And I'm going to split the pin on the B. Like so. Just give myself a little bit more space. The only reason I'm splitting it is because I need to get access to other things. So we're going to split the location, both these. X is fine, Y is fine, and Z, we're just going to add a little bit to it. So we want to raise it above so it comes out the top. So I found the number of 50 was very good. It worked well. The B, rotation stays rotation, scale stays scale. Scale should be 111, but connect it up anyways, in case you did change the scale. Now we've done that, we get our direction, and we do a switch on timeline direction. We connect that to the finish. Timelines are terrible for trying to keep neat without too many strings, but do your best. There's another timeline here we'll get through later. And once we, let me just make sure I've not got anything after that. No, I don't. Okay, so on our timeline here, we grab our spawned actor again. This is fired when the timeline's finished. So we get a spawned actor, we get our base mess. Remember I said earlier we reset the collision. So we're going to set the collision enabled, and we're going to use query and physics, and that's on the forward. Then we're going to move this one up a little bit because we need to access that, and we're going to say pick up item because we want to be holding it in our hand now as an actor. Then we want to get our pack contents quantity, and we want to decrement it because we've taken one out. And then we're going to check if this is equal to 0. If it is, we're going to destroy this actor. In other words, we're going to destroy the bag. If you didn't want to destroy the bag, destroy the actor, you can add other flags to say, hey, this is empty, and you throw it in the bin, or whatever you like to do. And on backwards, we get our spawned actor again. We destroy the actor, but we're destroying the spawned actor now because that's the one that's in our hand. And we get our player character. And we set item in hand message. Target's there. And the actor reference is null. That's that timeline completed. And I believe that is all we're going to need. We're playing the timeline for that. It will not work yet because we've not actually called these functions. Now we can't, although we get it up as a parent and the bag of bread as a child, this pivot point here will always remain at whatever the parent is. It won't carry through. So we need to call the event using this pivot point as the input. We're going to go to our bag of bread here, event graph. And we're going to look for our event interact, our event right click. So we're going to open that up. We're going to drag in our pivot. We're going to drag out here and we're going to say take ingredient. Spawn location. The pivot goes to spawn location. The ingredient we want to take, because it's a bag of bread, we're going to call it our bread. You can hard set that, that's fine. Because it is only the bag of bread actor. And sorry, not event right click, event left click. Okay. Now on our BPP ingredient, which I'm just going to open up now because I can't find it. Bear with me. Okay. On our BPP ingredient, we need to open up. So we go to our blueprint parents, BPP ingredient, And I'm not sure whether I left it in here or not. We've got a lot of stuff here from before. So we go to our interfaces, our interact, and we use our right click here. We added that bulk pack reference here, okay, which is set from outside. It's not set anywhere else. If we do a find references here by name, it's not set anywhere else. It's set from when we spawn. So we get that, virtual validator get, and we say, is it valid? Because if it's not a valid item, then we don't need to do anything. Then we just call return to pack. Basically, it's calling it on the pack itself rather than on this item. Now, in your BP Chef or your player, you need to go to your event graph and you need to use your IA right click. You should have it already there. We made it up before. IA right click here. We get our item in hand, which we already have. We check it's valid. If it is valid, we do event right click. If it's not valid, we check if our hit actor is valid. We do event right click on him. I'm just going to now pause the video and test so I'm not wasting time. I've already got 26 minutes. I'm going to do that, pause the video, test it. If it's fine, I'll come back and show you. If it's not, I'll come back and show you what we need to change. Okay, just going to test it now. It worked absolutely fine straight off the bat. We'll go here. I'll put a loaf of bread here, an actor of the bread, because it saves me having to use Ted and do it in the shells for testing just to save time a little bit. If I says here, use E to pick up loaf of bread or left mouse button to take out a slice of bread. Now, I've just changed the wording in the I think we did it last time. So you can see I picked it up, I can move around, dance around, it's all nice and free. If I look at the bag, click right, it goes back in the bag, okay? Like so, yeah? Okay. And if I right or left click anywhere else, it doesn't do anything. So that works absolutely fine. Good. So now we're going to move on to the next one. This one's a little bit longer. And we're going to try and do this as quick as possible. Now for this one, I've already done some preparation. If we look at our coffee machine, we have nowhere to put coffee. Yeah. I didn't really think about it when I first made that very quickly for this. So what I've done is I've done a slight adjustment to the mesh. You'll be able to get it from the asset pack below. If I show you what I've done, I've imported it and I'll show you how to change it over. So in our drinks machine here, we now have SM Coffee Machine 2. Okay. And the difference it has is I've put a hole in the top basically. Yeah, where we can put our coffee. The other thing you've got to do is, lost it now, where is it there? Okay, the other thing you have, two things you have to do is open up your old mesh, and I'm not going to do it all now because I've already done it. Look at your sockets, your medium, large button, drink socket, cup socket. You need to copy those across. Now you can't directly copy them, but you can copy the name. So you add a new socket to that mesh and you add the name. But what you can do to help save you time is, so if you say you start with a medium button, you can right click on here where it says static mesh socket, copy all properties, then you can go to the same name socket that you've made on your new mesh, go to the same place, paste all properties. I didn't copy it, but if you'd actually copied it, you'd get the option to paste. And the other thing we did is I added one more socket and I've called it refill location. And I've set it to be the location of my bag of coffee. So if I get the bag of coffee, like so, okay, I've set it to the location I want the bag of coffee to be. The other thing I did is I reversed the transform of the coffee. I wanted the label facing me, but that's just an aesthetic thing. If you find you have a problem, let me know and I'll do a very quick video showing you how to do it. We've got our fill location, so this is where we do it. And the reason the way I tested it to be relatively accurate is, you see on the X there, I did the rotate on the X to about 90, and made sure that sort of where you think your coffee will come down into that hopper, and make sure make sure that that is sort of central to your hopper. Okay, don't forget to set that back to 0 so it's standing upright, and you can clear that mesh. You don't need mesh on there. So that's what I've done in preparation for this. Now the next thing we do is we need to go to our DA coffee machine and use it. So you just go here and you change that mesh to the new mesh, and you make sure you save this. Now if you go to your level, you see it hasn't changed. It's because we set the mesh on construction. So just give it a tiny movement, put it back down on the table, and you see we've got our new mesh. Okay, good. Now this one is quite intense, so I am going to try to do it relatively quickly without too many problems. So we need to add some items to our various interfaces. First one we're going to do is our BPI game base. We're going to add a section called contents. We're going to add a new function called add contents. Again, I didn't show this because we've done this so many times that I think you should get the hang of it now. Add contents, and it has an input. We call it item in hand, and it's BPP base. We've added that to that. That's all we need to add to that one. I'll put it under contents to make it a little bit easier. And we're now looking for our BPI bulk items. Under the heading bulk, you should have that give bulk data asset. If you don't, make sure you make it. Like we said before, and add 2 more. Neither of them, neither of them have any inputs or any outputs. One is called start add contents, and the other is called stop add contents. Add them in your BPI bulk items. Okay, so now you've got those, we can go ahead and start filling out what we need to do. So in our BPP bulk items, first of all, we are going to fill out, I believe we're going to fill out, let me just double check that I've not used any. Okay, fine. No, we haven't. So we're going to start with, you got this activate particles, move it out of the way. We'll deal with that later. But we don't actually call it in here, so we don't care about it right now. So you can just call it, but don't delete it because it's helpful to have it there. Okay, so I made up a variable called rotation, and it's a rotator. Okay, and we set that a bit later on. So in this one, again, simple as 1.5 seconds. This time I've kept it as linear, called it alpha, same as we did before. So what we're going to do is we are going to get a node called set actor rotation. Make sure you get rotation, not relative rotation. We are going to alert the rotator. We are going to split the B. The alpha is going to go to alpha. We could drag in this rotation, but don't worry, I'll show you where we set that shortly. That goes into here. And drag it in again. Let's split the pin. Y goes to Y. Z goes to Z, and I've set this to -90 because that's what suited my bag. And out of here, we're going to break this rotator. And I promoted our X to a variable called angle. So we're going to get that angle. We're going to set that to the X. And because we're dealing with negative numbers, I've done is this less than, because -90 is less than -10. Is this less than -10? -10. We are going to call our on item tilted event dispatcher, which will look like that. If it's true, we're going to say true. If it's false, we're going to leave it as false. Okay. On our direction here, we're going to switch again to finished. Like I say, it's very difficult not to cross wires with timelines. We're not worried about the forward, we're not doing anything. On the backward one, we're going to say detach from actor, because we will be detaching ourselves from the actor. Importantly, make these keep world. We want it to stay where it is for now. Then we're going to say pick up item. In other words, we're going to pick up ourselves. Then we're going to get our player character. I'm going to say set boring message. Make sure that's set to false. And because we've now emptied the bag, we're going to use this is empty. We're going to set it to true. This bag is now empty. That's the timeline completed. So while we're down here, we're going to do some of these new ones, these new interface calls we've just made. Go to your interfaces, go to your bulk, and we're going to start with the start add contents. Just double click it, bring it into space. First thing I'm going to check is our bag empty or our container empty. If it's empty, we're going to do, so if it's empty, it's going to give us true. So we're going to add Steph's comment. And I'm going to copy and paste to save time with typing. And I'm going to say package empty, throw it in the bin. Okay. If it's not empty, we're going to set is pouring to true. And we're going to get actual rotation. This one here. And we're going to set that rotator to that. Then we're going to get that timeline that we just made. Can't find it, it'll be under components. I call it timeline pouring. And we're going to say play from start. Lovely job. And the next one we're going to do is the next one is stop add contents. Okay. You shouldn't have any inputs or outputs, so make sure you've got the right one. So we're going to get our bulk asset reference. We're going to check, can this pour? Oh, sorry, hang on. Reverse. I'm looking at the wrong one. So we're going to get our player character. We're going to set his pouring. To false. So we're double checking that it's false, even though the timeline will set it, but we're going to set it anyway. We're going to set out his pouring in here to false. We're going to get the timeline. Oh, make sure I get the right one. We're going to play from end. Sorry, not play from end, it's reverse from end. Like so. And that's it for that one. Well, I nearly got carried away with the right click. Then we go to our interact. We look for our event, right click. And in our event, right click, we get our bulk item. Check whether we can pour. Into advance. If it's not a pourable container, then we don't need to go ahead and do all of this. We get a player character. And we call something which you won't have, and I'll show you what I've done. We call something called give. Hit actor message. If I open up BPI player, it is simply a new function. Got a hit actor of type actor. And inside your player, you find it in the interfaces. You hit actor and you literally use your hit actor variable there. Okay. So back in our bulk item, we're going to get our hit actor. And from our hit actor, we are going to, from here, we're going to just say add content message. Make sure it's from the BPI game base. Okay. Item in hand is going to be yourself. And I believe that is all we do in this part. Okay, good. Next part is we go to our copy machine. We've got quite a bit of work to do in this fellow here, but nothing too drastic. First of all, there are some new variables. One called fill start, just a float. One called pack contents quantity, another float. Item in hand is BPP base. Ingredients in pack, I don't know whether you've got that one. If you don't, it's a DA ingredient. Another one called contents timer count as an integer. Fill timer as a timer handle, and I'll show you how to get that one in a moment. Machine contains quantity, and that's a map of DA ingredients and floats. Index, because I've just made something a little, used index as an integer to make it a bit easier. And ingredients array. So DA ingredients, but make an array. And I've set it to what you have in your machine. In my case, it's black coffee and white coffee, so they're both coffee ingredients. But if you've got Pepsi or whatever, you can add those in there. And another new one is amount to use, and I've set it to 1. I believe that's all you've got. If not, you can see as we go along, you should be able to make the others up. I just want to show you where I've used the index and set the index, because it's only a slight change, but in your on button pressed, we have an index. So I just promoted that to a variable, and I put index here and here, only because we are going to be adding quite a bit of code to the front and back of this, so it just saves strings. Okay. So what do we need to do here? So let me get the coffee machine up here. And find the correct ones. Okay, we have a new function and we have a new event. Oh, before I forget, actually, while we're dealing with the bulk items, let's deal with that. We need to go to our bag of coffee. Coffee bag. Let's activate particles. It's not there. So what you need to do is you need to go and override your activate particles that we made in the first one. Do a branch. Now here we are going to be adding a Niagara system. We didn't add it to here. We add it to the actual coffee bag itself. Here, okay. We had a Niagara particle system. We drag that out and we set activate on true and deactivate on false, and I did the reset. Your Niagara particle system is a default value of hit the right one. I've made a new system called Niagara Coffee Grounds. Basically a copy of our coffee particle that we made before for the machine. I'll open it up and show you what differences I've made. Before we had this shape cylinder, I've changed it to shape cone and just left it all as default. Tweak it to your heart's content, get it how you like. And particle spawn rate I've dropped down to 200 from I think it was 500. That's all I've done on that. Okay. So in your coffee bag, you set that up as there, you set the color, and I've just set it darker and not translucent. And that's fine. Okay. Now in our coffee machine now, let's go back to our coffee machine. We have a new static mesh, and I used a plane. I just went add plane, this one here. Okay. Oh, here it is, up here somewhere. Either goes too quick or too slow, right. Added the plane, and I'll give you the sizes and dimensions of the plane. So location 18, 0, 41. Okay. Rotation 0 across the board. Scale 0.9, 0.19, 0.34, and 1. Now for the material, I made a new material called M Coffee. That's not the material I used. Made one called M Ground Coffee, sorry. Get the right one for that. Okay. And it's very basic material. The textures are in the asset pack. So just join them up like that. Your brown one to your base, the one that says displacement to the roughness, set your specular to 0 and your normal to your normal. So they're all supplied. To make up a very quick material, again, we've done this thousands of times. Well, several times, not thousands of times. So in our coffee machine, keep losing, you've set that plane to have that coffee. Okay. So we are going to the event graph, and I'll explain things as we go along. Let me just see what I need to do in here. That's right. Okay, so we have a new custom event. And we'll do that first. Make sure I haven't left it behind. No, I haven't. So create a new custom event. I know it's too small. I let me zoom in. Rename it to on fill activated. Like that. Okay. This one's very simple. We need a function, so we'll make the function first. So in our functions, we're going to add a new function. We don't have many. Okay, and this one's going to be called rename it, sorry. Set fill level. This has an input of a boolean, and we're going to say add question mark. Why won't it allow me to do that? Add question mark. On. It doesn't like that for some bizarre reason. Add consensus. Allowed it to my in my other one, but it doesn't want to do it in here. Maybe I've still got remnants of it left in memory or something. Don't know. Right, so do a branch from here. Screw me for a second, that did. We need a local variable. And we're going to call this L level. And it's of type float. Okay. We are going to get our pack contents quantity, which is the float. We're going to get our fill start. We're going to do a plus from our fill start. Add. We're also going to do a minus because we're doing two things at once here. We're going to get our pack contents quantity from either one of these, doesn't matter which one you start with. We're going to do a divide. We can put that output to that pin on the negative as well. We're going to divide by this. What are we going to divide? Well, we're going to divide the number, which is the difference. So it may vary for your message, but if you use my message, it should be the same. Our copy content, the difference between it being full and empty. Where I think the full on here is 51.5. It's full. 41 is empty. Okay. The difference for that is 10.5. So in our set fill level, we're going to set that to 10.5. Yes, it's hard coded, but there's no reason not to in this case. We get our local fill level. And we drag it in 2 times. If we add, we do this one. If we subtract, we do this one. Then we get our start level. Fill start. We set that like this from that local variable. Like so. We drag in our copy content plane and we set a relative location. Okay, so we're not using a timeline this time, so we're going to have to find another way of making it come up a little bit smoother. So we're going to use something called an reinsert, an insert to, rather than just a lerp. Okay. Insert speed I've set at 5. Delta time is get world delta seconds. Then we're going to make a vector here. I'm going to do that 2 times, Control-C-V. Now be careful with your location. Check on your content mesh. If we look, we've got 18, 0, and then the Z. The Z is what we're changing, so I'm not worried about that. So your start location is going to be your fill start on the Z. Make sure you set the 18 on X, Y was 0. Likewise on here, set your 18. And the level is the local level and the Y is 0. So Z is local level, Y is 0. And that is that done. That function completed. So back to the event graph on this onfill activated. We're going to get our set fill level. In this case, we're going to add to contents. Oh. Sorry, hang on. Delete that a minute. We have to make another custom event. This one's called raise level. I'm jumping ahead of the game. Raise level. We use a set fill level in here. We're going to add the contents. We're going to get our machine contains quantity. We're going to find it from our ingredients pack. I'll show you where we're going to set these later, so don't panic if you're not sure. You'll see as we go along. We're going to add 1 because we're just adding 1 unit at a time. We get our machine contents quantity again, and we use the add to map function, ingredient pack variable, and the 1. Okay. So basically we're getting that, whatever's in there, 1. So there's 1 in there, we will set 1. If there's 1 in there plus another one, that's 2, so on and so forth. Okay, now we've got that. In here, we raise a level. Then we get our content timer count, and we decrement it. And we check if this is equal to 0. If it is, we're going to get our fill timer, and we're going to, I don't think what the name of it is, clear. Clear. Clear, and evaluate timer by handle. By the way, this variable type is of timer handle, and I'll show you how you set that in a moment. We grab our item in hand, and we run stop add contents message, which is what we've been setting up in the bag, in the bulk items, like so. So that's it for that function and that function. And so we can raise the level, we've done that. What else do we need to do? Unfill activated, event add contents. It's our next one. So event add contents, if you can't find it, look in your interfaces. Look in your game base. I must already have it out there somewhere. It's under contents. Under the contents, event add contents, it's got the one that's got the item in hand. That's where we set our item in hand from. We get our item in hand, we set this. We get it again after we've set it. You could do it from here, but I just want to give myself a bit of space. And we're going to say is empty. I'm going to double check that this is not empty. If it's empty, which means it'll be true. We're going to, and I'm going to copy and paste, do the same message we did before, package empty, put it in the bin. So it's just another sanity check, possibly not necessary. We can reload this one. And we can say give bulk data asset message, which is in our bulk items. I showed you that earlier. And here's where we set some of those other variables. So we get ingredients in pack, and we set our ingredients in pack here. We get our pack content quantity, and we set our timer on here, content timer count. like so. We then get our pack contents quantity float and we convert them. It's just so that we can use it inside that other function because it needed a float. I tried using the math to do it, but it was not reliable, so went back to the old school way of doing it. So machine contents quantity, no, sorry, not that one. Machine contains this one. This is the one that has how many it is. I've said it as base as 8, but it doesn't matter because that gets changed. It doesn't get read. And we look for find. And we're going to try and find our item in pack. We don't care how many at this stage, we just care have we found it. So we get a branch. If we've not found it, I'm going to copy these to save time. We do another chef's comment, and from our ingredients pack, we get item name, and I've just put you can't put, and we do the I in here so it changes the name for the correct or the correct item. If it does find it, in other words, we are trying to add the right thing, we're not trying to add jam to a coffee machine or something. We get our item in hand, and we just say drop item, which is the BPI interact one, but we want the message. Drop item message. If we can't find it there, unclick the context sensitive. You could use the other ones, I can't see why not, but I just got in the habit of using the message. Then we get the player character, and when we tell it we are pouring, even though we may well have done it before, we want to be sure. Get pouring message to true. We again get our item in hand, and we say attach. We turn off the context sensitive there. Attach actor to component here. Parent is going to be our base mesh. Socket name, we need to go into our drinks machine, make sure that we make sure we get the right one. Drinks machine 2, get our fill location. What I recommend doing is copying that name. Because trust me, if you make one spelling mistake, it doesn't work properly. And it can take a long time to find. Now here we want to snap the target. We literally want to move it to that point and weld. We're going to check whether it's successful. Not successful, not going to bother to do anything. If it is successful, we're going to call star add content. Like so. Then we are going to set timer by event. We're going to say time is 1 second. Make sure it sets a loop in. We're going to create our event. And the event we're going to use is fill on fill activated, the one we made earlier on, like so. Then we are going to set our fill timer. Now, if you've had trouble trying to get this fill timer, you can just drag off of here, create the variable that way, and then add it in your code later on. But we set it there. Okay, so I believe we have finished this. So I'm going to just pause the video and test it and come back with either it working or if it's not, telling you what we've missed. Okay, so it worked after I added this little piece of code here. So we drag in our coffee content, we get our relative location, break the vector, and we've initially set our fill start. We do that on begin play, just so we've got a starting point. Okay, if we don't have it, then it's not going to work. Obviously, that'd be a value that you would save. So let me show you it working, and let me show you what other little extra work we have to do now. I'll just put a bag of coffee on here. So I'm just going to go ahead and pick it up, look at the machine, right click. There we go, it tips, it starts in Niagara. You see it's filling up the machine. Okay. And we've got a bag here. If I try and right click again, it gives us a message, pack is empty, put it in the bin, so that part's all working. So we can go ahead and do that. And even if I pick it up again and try it again, it still knows it's not. We're not going to get away with it. But what happens is if we make a coffee, do we have a coffee on here? No, we don't. But let me show you that. We've got a coffee on our order machine. Here we go. Got a coffee on our order. Click on that. 12-ounce cup, which is the big boy. No, it's a small boy, isn't it? Get a 12-ounce cup. Click it on here. Use white coffee. It goes ahead and allows us to make coffee. But look, we haven't got any coffee in there. Okay, so we need to correct that. So let's go ahead and do that. And that's not too difficult. We've got most of the stuff already done. I'm just going to it in our on button press where I said we changed the we promote this to record. So we're going to, at the beginning, we're going to give ourselves some space. We need to do a few checks basically. Okay. So we're going to get a machine contains quantity map. We're going to find, and we're going to get our ingredients array. Now, say if you haven't got it, just make it. And basically, you just add all the ingredients you have in your machine. So we get a copy, and that will correspond with your button index. So you need to get your index, which one we just made, and I can't find it for love nor money. We get our index and we plug that into define. So we're trying to find that. So we're saying whatever button you pressed, do we have any in the machine? First of all, we're going to do a branch here. We could do an AND, but let's just do it separately so that maybe you understand it a little easier. So then we come out of here and we go, is this greater than or equal to amount to use? Now that was a little float we put in here, which I've preset to 1. So if that's more than 1, then we're going to do another branch. So if it passes that, we could do an AND for these two. That's probably a better idea. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's move that out. We'll do an AND. Brilliant. If this and this are true, so let's give ourselves a bit of room. I'm going to neaten you up a little bit. So there, if those two are true, then we can go ahead and do some more. So if those are true, we can go ahead and plug that into here. Move this back a little bit, and this back a little bit. If they're false, I'm just going to copy and paste, just to save a little bit of time. From our get here, we plug into our, or we find our item name, make this to false. And I've put, you have run out of, put a curly brackets N for name, refill the machine with curly brackets N for name. So it will basically take what we put in there. So that checks whether we have enough. Now, the next thing is we don't actually use the coffee out of the hopper, so we can fill it up, but we don't actually use it. So we're going to deal with that next. That's at the other end. And it's actually quite simple. We are going to, we can copy. Is that correct? Yes, it is correct. We can copy this part and the amount to use variable. Copy that. Paste that. And we say this minus this. And we get our machine contents quantity. We're doing add map to map function. The item we're going to add is from this get, so we can put some remote nodes in here. So, and the quantity is this new quantity. And then we also want to give ourselves the effect of it going down. So we use our set fill level function and we set that to false. So now if we go to the machine, is it going to copy? Yes, it has. Great. So we're going to choose that and say 16 ounce. That's a biggie. Put it in there. Black coffee button. So press the black coffee button. You have run out of coffee. Fill the machine with coffee. Okay. You can pick up your coffee machine. Right click. Watch our coffee raised. Put that on the floor for now. Now we can press that black coffee button. You see the coffee went down a little. We filled up our coffee. And so on and so forth. And that will continue to work until it's empty again. So that's it for this one. It's a little bit longer, but it didn't end up as over 2 hours like the last one. I did rush some of it because I'd redone it before, but if you've got any comments or any queries or you're finding it's not working, drop me a DM in my Discord. All of the new assets will be in the asset pack below. Please don't forget to hit that like button. If you're not already, please subscribe. If you like what I do, buy me a coffee or consider joining my Patreon. It all helps. And machinery gets old as we need to update our machinery. It all helps to keep me producing videos for the channel. In the next one, we are going to do something very simple, very quick. And we're going to make a rubber spin because we now got stuff that we need to throw in the bin. So let's make a rubber spin. Very simple. Again, all assets will be supplied. See you in the next one. Bye.